Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, our mission here is always to dig into some pretty dense sources, articles, notes, firsthand accounts,
hmm
and really pull out something actionable, something you can remember. Today, we've got, well, a really remarkable journey into endurance. We're looking at Jamaica.
That's right. Jamaican resilience, both structural and, you could say, spiritual.
Yeah,
We're really dissecting a critical period,
right.
focusing on the lessons from Hurricane Gilbert back in '88. Painful lessons, often.
Yeah, I imagine so.
And the sources bring it right up to today, with the current watch on tropical storm lessons. So it's very immediate.
Okay, so our deep dive today, the objective is pretty clear then. We're trying to pull out that wisdom on how geography, culture, architecture, how they all combine.
Exactly. How they combine to create real, sustainable strength. It's more than just weather. It's about transformation. A national case study, really.
And to get that transformation, you have to start with the shock, right? The catalyst.
Precisely. And the sources, they really ground us immediately in the night of Gilbert, 1988. They focus on this one specific terrifying sound.
Ah, yes, I remember reading that. It wasn't just wind or rain.
No. The author describes it as the roar that seemed to come from everywhere at once. A profound physical sound.
Wow, that really hits you. It's not just noise, it's like the environment itself breaking down.
Yeah, a fundamental betrayal, as you say.
Yeah.
It perfectly sets the stage for just how vulnerable the island was structurally at that specific moment.
Okay, so let's talk about that vulnerability. Before 88, what were we looking at in terms of housing?
Well, the sources paint a picture of, let's say, ingenuity born from necessity, but also fragility. Housing was often quick, relatively cheap to put up.
Right, so what materials are we talking about? Why were they so vulnerable to what was Gilbert, a Category 3?
Primarily, it was light wooden frames,
Yeah.
and the roofs, almost ubiquitously, were zinc sheeting.
Zinc.
Yeah, zinc, affordable, easy to handle, quick to install.
Yeah.
So, it made sense for a lot of housing, especially outside the main cities and rural areas. The author even remembers the smell pine and paint.
Huh. Pine and paint. Gives you a real sense of the time.
He does. But those materials, practical as they were for daily life, they offered almost zero defense against winds of that magnitude.
Zero defense. That's stark. What actually happens, like physically, when winds that strong hit that kind of structure?
It's terrifyingly quick.
Right.
The wind creates this massive upward lift on the roof, especially those shallow-pitched zinc roofs. It acts like an airplane wing.
Okay.
And since the zinc was often just held down by basic nails, maybe some tin screws, the wind just gets under it instantly. The source says Gilbert tore through those homes like paper.
Like paper, just gone.
And worse, once the roof lifts off, the internal pressure changes dramatically. It can blow the walls outward. So it's catastrophic failure. Millions of pounds of debris flying around, hundreds of thousands suddenly exposed.
That kind of structural failure must have led to just overwhelming chaos. Psychologically, too.
Absolutely. Yet what really stands out in these sources almost immediately is the social reaction.
The community aspect.
Exactly. The sources keep hammering this point.
Huh.
In Jamaica, community isn't just about living near someone. It's a deep collective identity, and it activated instantly.
So the structures failed, but the social structure.
Well, that's the key lesson from Gilbert, yes. The social fabric proved incredibly strong. People didn't wait for official help. They were checking on each other, sometimes even while the storm was still raging, crawling through debris. It wasn't centrally organized. It was just instinct.
And we get these really humanizing stories in the sources, don't we? Specific examples.
We do. It wasn't just some abstract mutual aid. It was practical, immediate sharing. Cooking together over open fires because kitchens were gone. Pulling resources. There's this one great story about a carload of plantain, the cooking banana, a vital starch arriving from Guy's Hill in St. Mary, a less affected area.
Wow, that must have felt like salvation.
Absolutely. Basic carbohydrate security. And, of course, tins of bully beef, corned beef. A staple, cheap, long-lasting protein, shared immediately, no questions asked.
Simple stuff, but essential.
Totally essential. And amidst all this fear and chaos, the sources talk about this nervous laughter that prevailed, like a shield.
That humor, that feels very Jamaican, based on what the sources describe. It brings us to that song, doesn't it? The Lavender track.
Wild Gilbert, yes. A perfect example of, well, cultural alchemy, you could call it.
Alchemy, I like that. How did it work? How did it help?
Love and Deer took the absolute mayhem, the flying zinc roofs, people trying to cook outside, kids singing through the wreckage, and he processed it into this cheeky anthem.
Cheeky.
It made the absurd reality digestible through music, through rhythm and rhyme. The chorus, Wild, 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 Wild Gilbert.
Yeah.
It became this socially acceptable way to talk about this massive collective trauma.
So it wasn't just forgetting, it was reframing, giving people some agency back.
Precisely. Humor as a survival tool. By turning the disaster into almost a character, a story, a bit of a joke even, you're saying, you didn't break us, you just gave us material. It normalizes it, creates a shared memory that isn't just fear. It builds that collective identity we mentioned.
It's fascinating. But the sources are careful not to romanticize everything, right?
Yeah.
They mention a darker side, too.
Yes, and that's crucial for a full picture. Disaster doesn't magically make everyone a hero. The sources document opportunists.
Looters.
Looters, yeah.
Yeah.
People who came out during the worst of it, under cover of the storm, not to help, but to steal from houses that were damaged or abandoned.
Was that just theft, or did it feel more dangerous than that?
It was definitely dangerous.
Yeah.
With police and emergency services completely overwhelmed, communications down, there was a vacuum. These weren't just petty crimes. It added another layer of fear, of distrust, exactly when solidarity was most needed. So the sources acknowledge this tension, this betrayal happening alongside incredible acts of bravery and community. It's all part of the messy, total folklore of Gilbert. You need both sides.
Okay, so the cultural response was immediate, vital, but the physical reality couldn't be ignored. Section 2 really gets into the permanent changes Gilbert forced.
Yeah, this is about the physical scaffolding. If the first part was the social, this is the structural. Gilbert was a multi-billion-dollar lesson. It forced what the author calls a forced maturity.
Forced maturity. That really captures it. It wasn't a gentle evolution. The lesson seemed to be beauty means nothing without strength.
Absolutely. That became the mantra,
Yeah.
implicitly. And it led to a fundamental, non-negotiable shift in how Jamaica built homes.
So what was that shift? What changed?
It was a radical move away from that past reliance on light timber and especially zinc, a wholesale shift. The new standard, the mandatory standard, became concrete. Steel reinforcement bars, rebar, and reinforced blockwork. Masonry.
Concrete and steel. A declaration, really.
It was a declaration that the island wouldn't subject its people to structures that, behave like paper in high winds ever again.
Let's dig into the engineering a bit. What do concrete and block do that wood and zinc can't against hurricane forces?
They tackle the two main failure points, uplift and shear. Wood is flexible, sure, but it lacks mass. Concrete and block, especially with rebar inside, provide immense weight, immense mass.
Oh, it's harder to lift.
Much harder. That mass increases the gravitational load, holding the building down, resisting that wind uplift pressure we talked about. And secondly, the way it's all tied together, foundation, walls, roof heat, resists the sideways shear forces much better than a wooden frame where joints can fail. It becomes one single, heavy, cohesive unit.
Okay, that makes sense. But concrete, steel, that sounds way more expensive than wood and zinc.
Well, significantly. And more labor-intensive, too.
So how did that work? Did the sources talk about the equity issues? Making these codes mandatory must have hit poorer communities hard.
They did address that, and it's a really important point. The new codes were essential for safety. But yes, they imposed huge new costs, particularly in rural areas or for low-income families who'd always relied on the cheaper materials.
So it wasn't just an engineering decision, it was economic policy, too.
Absolutely. It required political will, international aid, mechanisms like subsidized materials, government grants for reconstruction. Without those, the safety mandate would have left many people behind, unable to afford to rebuild safely or at all.
A complex negotiation, then, about who pays for national resilience.
Precisely. It forced a whole cultural reevaluation. What's the true cost of safety versus the cost of, convenience or tradition? And decades later, that change is visible everywhere.
Where do we see it most clearly now?
It's woven into the landscape. You see these solid, reinforced concrete homes perched confidently on hillsides, places where older wooden homes might have just slid away.
Right.
You see the big apartment complexes in Kingston, Montego Bay, built for height, yes, but also designed for serious seismic and wind loads. Modern developments now have to blend that resilience, the concrete, the steel, with aesthetics. The default question changed from how cheaply can we build to how strong must we build.
And the source sums this up quite profoundly, saying a home became more than four walls.
Yes, a promise of safety. That phrase really lands, doesn't it?
It does, because when your home fails, it's not just financial, it's deeply psychological, a betrayal.
Exactly. So these new standards, learned through immense pain and enforced by law, they represent an island-wide commitment, a promise to future generations. It's the physical proof of the vow made after Gilbert. Never again so defenseless.
Okay, so Gilbert was this massive turning point. But Jamaica's relationship with hurricanes didn't start or end there, obviously.
Not at all. The resilience we're talking about, it's built on layers of experience, generations of lessons. Gilbert looms large, but we have to place it in context.
What's the history look like?
Well, the sources remind us of the long path through the hurricane zone. You had major hits, like Hurricane Charlie in 1951, devastating for Kingston, Flora in 63, Allen in 1980, just before Gilbert.
Right.
Then after Gilbert, you have Ivan in 2004, which is a huge scare, Dean in 2007, Sandy in 2012, even Beryl just recently in 2024.
So it's constant. Whether it's a direct hit or a near miss, the island is always in the path.
Always. The threat is cyclical, it's relentless, it's just part of the geography, part of the reality.
And that brings us to that interesting discussion in the sources about why some storms seem to just turn away, that mix of science and something else.
Yes, it's fascinating. It really captures the Jamaican worldview, this dual narrative. On one side, you have science and geography, the island's mountains, the seafloor contours, local weather patterns. They can physically influence a storm's path, shear it apart, steer it away. That's the logic. Okay.
But on the other hand, you have a deeply spiritual, often religious population who see those near misses as grace, as a blessing, divine intervention.
So which is it, logic or grace? What do the sources conclude?
The author reflects what seems to be a very common integrated perspective. It's both science and spirit, logic and grace working together.
So not mutually exclusive.
Not at all. And the key takeaway isn't to choose one over the other. It's that the perceived blessing, the grace, it doesn't replace the need for preparation. If anything, it rewards preparation.
Ah, I see. Like divine protection works with human effort.
Exactly. You prepare diligently using wisdom and science, and you also pray for favor. The two go hand in hand.
Which connects directly to the present-day situation mentioned in the source's tropical storm, Melissa.
Right. The timing makes this whole discussion very real. As these sources were being compiled, meteorologists were tracking Melissa. Now, maybe it's just a tropical storm, but after Gilbert,
The institutional memory kicks in immediately, instantly. The island goes on high alert. Preparation levels spike, regardless of the forecast intensity, because you never know.
and this leads to that amazing cultural detail, the humor around the name Melissa, the overheard conversation.
Yeah, in Ocho Rios, at a car wash, apparently. It's a perfect little snapshot of that cultural mechanism we discussed earlier, the humor.
What's the joke?
Someone was saying, Melissa sounds like a soft storm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe brings rain, but not like devastation. They contrasted it with Gilbert. There was a man name, powerful, destructive.
Yo, that's brilliant. But it's doing more than just being funny, isn't it?
Oh, much more. It's anthropomorphizing the threat again, giving it a less terrifying name, maybe even a slightly diminished persona. It makes the current anxiety manageable.
It wraps faith, humor, resilience around the genuine worry.
Exactly. It lets the community process the threat through shared wit, not paralyzing fear. It's the same spirit that gave rise to the Wild Gilbert song decades earlier. Still working.
Okay, so that human connection, that spirit, is vital. But as you said, grace rewards preparation, and the sources get very practical here.
Extremely practical. This section basically says, okay, we've learned the hard way. Preparedness isn't panic, it's wisdom. Let's get down to brass tacks.
And they give us this 20-point checklist drawn from decades of experience, broken down by cost, right?
Yes, very logically.
Yeah.
Affordable steps everyone can take, medium cost measures for immediate security, and then the higher investment stuff for long-term resilience.
Yeah.
It's the pragmatic outcome of 1988 and everything since.
Right. Let's start with the basics. Low cost, no cost. Number one, pick a safe room.
Crucial. This is your absolute last resort shelter inside the house. Needs to be interior, lowest floor if possible, and the key thing, no windows.
No windows. Why is that so critical?
Because in a major storm, windows are often the first things to fail catastrophically. Flying debris, pressure changes, they just go. The safe room protects you from shattered glass, flying objects, even if other parts of the house are compromised.
Got it. Number two, family plan. Sounds obvious, but what needs to be in it?
3 key things. First, clear communication channels, who calls who, how.
Oh.
Second, designated meeting spots or shelters if you have to evacuate. And third, really important for Jamaica with its large diaspora.
Ah, the relatives abroad.
Exactly. A pre-agreed check-in system. Knowing who the contact person back home, how they'll try to update you, it reduces panic on both ends when communication is difficult.
Makes sense. 3, emergency kit. What are the absolute must-haves?
Okay, specifics matter. Good flashlight, plenty of spare batteries, pinned food, enough water for at least 3 days per person, all essential medications, prescriptions first, all solid first aid kit, and cash.
Cash. Why cash specifically?
Because when the power goes out and cell networks fail, ATMs are useless, card machines don't work, digital payments stop. Cash becomes king for immediate needs.
Good point. 4. Secure outdoor items. Simple, but vital. Anything loose outside, plant pots, garden furniture, tools, even tarps can become a dangerous projectile in high winds. Bring it in or tie it down securely. That flimsy garden chair at 120 mph, it's a weapon.
Okay, number 5 is interesting, clean drains and gutters. The source emphasizes this because
in Jamaica, surprisingly often, water causes more damage than wind. Intense tropical rain just overwhelms drainage systems if they're blocked.
so gutters back up into the roof.
Exactly. Compromises the roof structure, soffits, fascias, and block surface drains mean flooding around the foundation, water getting into the house, ruining everything on the ground floor. Cleaning them is simple, high-impact prevention.
Number 6, document your home and contents. Photos, videos.
Yes, before the storm hits, walk around, take pictures or video of everything, inside and out, especially valuable items. Then store those files somewhere safe, ideally off-site cloud storage. Email them to yourself or a relative abroad.
Why? For insurance. Precisely. If the worst happens, having that pre-storm record makes the insurance claim process so much easier and faster. Speeds up your recovery.
7 is about leveraging that diaspora connection again. Ask someone local to check the property.
Essential for anyone owning property in Jamaica but living overseas. A trusted local relative or neighbor can do a final check before the storm, secure things you might have missed, and crucially, check for damage immediately afterwards.
So they can catch small problems before they become big ones.
Exactly. A small roof leak caught early is manageable. Left for days or weeks, it's a catastrophe: mold, rot, structural damage.
8. Keep printed emergency numbers. Seems old school.
It is, but essential. We rely on our phones for everything, but when the power's out and the cell towers are down, your phone is just a brick. Having a physical written list of key numbers, police, fire, hospital, local emergency office, is irreplaceable.
9. Stop up early. Beat the rush.
Yes. Don't wait for the official warnings when everyone panics. Get batteries, water, fuel for generators or cooking stoves, any critical meds before the storm is imminent. Ensures you get what you need and keeps things calmer overall.
And 10. Stay informed, but use trusted sources.
Absolute critical. Follow the official Meteorological Service of Jamaica. Listen to established, trusted radio stations for updates. Avoid rumors and social media panic. Accurate information helps you make the right preparation decisions for the actual threat level. Okay, moving up a level now. These require some financial investment, focused on securing the building's weak points. 11. Window protection.
Right. Shutters or plywood.
Either works, but the key is preparedness. If you're using plywood, have it pre-cut to fit each window and have the fixings, the screws, the anchors ready to go. Don't be scrambling for supplies or tools at the last minute. Protecting windows is vital because if one breaks, wind gets inside.
And can lift the roof off from the inside out.
Exactly. It compromises the entire structure.
12. Elevate valuables inside. Again, about the water damage.
Yes. Even if you're not in a flood zone, torrential rain can lead to water ingress. Move electronics, important documents, anything valuable off the floor. Put them on shelves, upper floors if possible. Flooding ruins things fast.
13. Backup power. Generator or battery system.
This is about continuity and basic comfort. A small portable generator or a decent battery backup system can be a lifesaver. Keep some lights on, run a fan, and crucially, keep the fridge going.
Saves food, maintains some normalcy.
And hygiene, yeah. Especially important if power outages last for days, which they often do.
14. Roof inspection and reinforcement. What does that involve?
This is proactive maintenance. Check the roof, covering shingles, sheeting for any loose or damaged areas. Replace old, rusty fasteners. Check the edges and overhangs. That's where wind often gets its first grip. And consider adding hurricane straps or clips, even as a retrofit. We'll talk more about those.
Okay. 15. Landscaping management. Trimming trees.
Yes, that beautiful big tree near the house. It's a potential hazard. Nature's beauty can become nature's weapon, as the source says. Trim overhanging branches, remove any dead or diseased limbs, especially prune trees near power lines. Reduces the risk of them falling on your roof or blocking roads. All right, the final category. These are the bigger investments, reflecting those deep lessons from Gilbert, really building for long-term survival. 16. High-rated doors and windows.
Hurricane-rated openings. Expensive, but
Yeah.
worth it.
They're often the single biggest investment, yes. But they're designed and tested to resist impacts from flying debris and the intense pressure changes. If your doors and windows hold, the building envelope stays intact. That's huge. It protects everything inside.
17. Elevating utilities and installing valves. What kind of valves?
This is smart flood defense. Position electrical outlets, main appliances, water heaters slightly higher off the floor than potential flood levels, and install backflow valves on your sewage and drainage lines.
What do they do?
They prevent sewage from backing up into your house if the municipal system gets overwhelmed by floodwaters. A one-way valve, basically. Keeps the mess out.
Okay, vital. 18 is the big one, architecturally. Hurricane clips and reinforced roof systems. You mentioned clips earlier. Let's get technical. What exactly do they do?
Okay, hurricane clips, or straps, are pieces of metal, usually galvanized steel. They physically connect the roof trusses, or rafters, down to the top plate of the wall, and sometimes connect the wall down to the foundation.
So it's like stitching the house together.
Exactly. It creates a continuous load path. Their main job is to fight uplift. Remember that airplane wing effect? Wind tries to peel the roof off. Nails alone aren't strong enough in tension. They pull out or shear. These clips provide that tensile strength, locking the roof down. It forces the roof, walls, and foundation to act as one solid unit against those incredible lifting forces. This is fundamental to modern resilient building in hurricane zones. Non-negotiable, really.
Got it. 19. Comprehensive backup power, solar, or generator.
This goes beyond the small, portable unit. We're talking about systems designed for long-term independence, a whole house generator, or a robust solar panel system with battery storage.
So you can keep essential systems running for weeks.
Potentially, yes. Water pumps, refrigeration, lights, communication systems. Resilience isn't just the walls standing. It's maintaining a safe, habitable environment inside, indefinitely if needed. Continuity.
And finally, 20. A thorough insurance review.
The financial safety net. You must check your policy details. Does it specifically cover wind damage, rain damage, and crucially, flood damage?
They can be separate.
Often, yes. Standard policies might cover wind but exclude flood, or have very high deductibles for hurricane damage. You need to know exactly what you're covered for. This is critical for homeowners but also vital for landlords or anyone hosting guests. Think about liability. The financial protection has to match the physical protection you've invested in.
That is an incredibly thorough list. Practical, actionable. And it brings us back to the bigger picture, designing for resilience from the start.
Exactly. The sources look forward, offering clear advice for future building, embedding these lessons.
So beyond the specific mandates like clips and concrete, what's the philosophy for future design?
The goal is to integrate strength with beauty. Homes that stand firm, but are also, well, pleasant places to live. Key focuses are water management, really well-designed drainage systems, elevating structures in flood-prone areas as standard practice,
And materials.
choosing materials that can get wet and then dry out properly without rotting or fostering mold. So treated lumber where wood is used, non-absorbent materials, good ventilation, coatings that resist biological growth. Thinking about recovery from day one of the design.
And the landscape around the house plays a role too.
A strategic role. Use the land itself. Grade it to channel water away from the foundation. Plan runoff routes carefully. And think about planting deep-rooted, wind-resistant trees can offer some protection and shade, but plant them a safe distance away so they don't become a threat if they fall. Landscape as an ally, not an enemy.
So we've covered engineering, materials, landscaping, insurance, but the sources circle back to something more fundamental at the end, don't they?
They absolutely do. After all the technical advice, the most important point is repeated. The ultimate defense isn't concrete or steel, it's community.
Nurturing those human connections.
Yes, neighbors, relatives, friends. That's the real, lasting safety net. When the power grid fails, when phones are dead, when roads are blocked, that social fabric is what gets people through. That immediate instinctual sharing we saw during Gilbert the Plantain, the bully beef that remains the core model for endurance.
So, putting it all together, Jamaica is seen as a blessed island, yes, but the philosophy isn't about luck.
No, it's that grace doesn't replace preparation. It rewards it. You can't just hope for the best.
You build with purpose.
You build with purpose, you prepare with wisdom, and then, yes, you can pray for favor. The author sums it up perfectly. Jamaica stands firm when the hurricane winds howl, not because the storm forgot us, but because we have built with purpose. That shift from wood and zinc to reinforced concrete, that is purpose manifested.
It's been quite a journey in this deep dive. From that fragility and fear of wild Gilbert, the flying zinc, to the concrete strength and resilience of today, a transformation driven by trauma, but resulting in wisdom.
Valuing structures, valuing humanity,
Right.
preparing, praying, enduring together.
Okay, let's wrap up with a final thought for our listeners.
Right. So consider this. That massive shift in Jamaica, from flimsy wood to mandatory reinforced concrete, it was forced by one catastrophic test, Hurricane Gilbert. It wasn't optional, it was survival. So the question for you is, what are the essential structures you rely on every day? Maybe it's your digital systems, maybe it's complex global supply chains, maybe even certain economic assumptions we take for granted.
Things that haven't had their Hurricane Gilbert yet.
Exactly. Things that haven't truly been tested to their breaking point. What mandatory proactive preparations should you be putting in place for those systems now? Building with purpose before that inevitable unforeseen test arrives.
That is a very provocative question indeed, something to really think about. Thank you for guiding us through this deep dive.
My pleasure. Stay informed, everyone, and stay strong.